John Brown. I am a Jesuit, a member of the Society of Jesus of the New Orleans province. I was born the 10th of 12 children, right? So I had a very big family. We grew up on a farm in Louisiana, and my dream growing up was always to leave home, right? To go to a bigger city, move to some place that was bigger, that had more action, that I could make good money, that I could have a good job, and eventually sort of reach all of the goals that I thought would be successful. And so I moved to Houston, Texas when I was 18, and I studied graphic design and art with the computer. I thought that if the internet was just beginning, this was in 1994, and so the internet was really just beginning to develop, and so I learned a little bit of computer programming and a little bit of graphic design, and the idea was that I would help develop websites, right? And this did work out very well. So I was a little bit young to be doing it a lot of times, but I had as much experience as anybody else building a website, so the pay was just as good as anybody else doing it. And so all of the things I had hoped for were beginning to come true. I had my own apartment. I lived apart from far away from home. I had my own car. I had a girlfriend. All these things that I thought would be the signs of success. And I remember reading a magazine about the genocide that had happened in Rwanda in Africa. Now it had happened several years before that, but the stories were just becoming public. And I remembered having these thoughts that all of the things I was working on were not aimed towards making the world a better place. They were all aimed towards making me more successful, but not making the world in any kind of way a better place. And so I began to feel, I don't want to say guilty for this, but I began to feel motivated to want to do something for the good of the world. The more I looked at the problems, though, the more I began to feel like, my first thought was maybe I should just donate some of my money, right? And then I began to think, well, maybe I should change jobs. Maybe I should volunteer. Maybe I should build houses for the homeless. Maybe I should, drive a truck with food in the back of it or something like that. Maybe I should find some kind of way to make the world a better place this way. And then I began to slowly but surely realize that a big part of the problems in the world were a problem of the soul, a problem of the heart, and that there was something more, I don't want to say that food and shelter are not important, but that there was another piece of that puzzle that I felt called to take part in, and that was the religious aspect of it, that part of it that addresses the needs of the soul. And so I began to offer God and say, God, if you want me to quit my job, well, first I said, if you want me to give some of my money, I will give some of my money. And I felt like God was affirming that, but calling me to something deeper. So then I said, okay, if you want me to change my jobs, to do this full-time, to volunteer full-time. And I felt like God, again, was affirming that, but calling me deeper. And so finally I had to offer to God and say, God, if you want me to be a priest, I probably am not going to be very good at it, but I'll do it if you want. If you ask me, if you call me, I will do it. And I went to sleep one night thinking he would never want me to be a priest, right? And then I remember waking up the next morning thinking, oh no, I think maybe he does. I think maybe God does call me to that. So I began to look around, and I called, I called the diocesan office, and I called a few other religious orders. But the more I would read about St. Ignatius Loyola, the founder of the Society of Jesus of the Jesuits, I really felt like that was a calling for me. I really felt like home. The more I would read about the founder, the more I would read about the Jesuits, the more I would read about what they did in the world. It's hard to explain, but I felt very comfortable with that way of doing it. Maybe comfortable is not the right word. I felt more convicted that is where God was calling me. Now, obviously, there were some things that made me nervous. I wondered, they were all very well educated. I was not, they were all very, very smart. I did not know if I would be able to do the things that they would ask me to do. I wondered if the life would be too hard. I wondered if they would ask things of me that I would not be able to accomplish. But in the end, I knew that if God called me, he would give me the grace to at least get by, So I joined the Jesuits in the year 2000, and they have trained me, and then I became a priest in 2011.